Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Frederic. So I want to thank you for being there and the public to be there and listen to this panel. As Frederic said, so this is a number of very relevant people for this kind of conference, because they are disrupting something that look like a non-disruptible, like it is the banking industry. So I would like then you to introduce yourselves first. Maybe we'll start with Jorg from Bitwala, and then we pass on until Sonia, and then we will start with the topics. I want to tell you, I would like you to participate in this, so if you have questions, don't wait until the end. We'll tackle some series of topics, and then I would like that if someone from the audience has a question for that particular topic, then just make me a sign, and then I will try to get you a microphone, and then reply on that topic on the spot, rather than just moving till the end of the panel. Okay, thank you, Jorg.
Yeah, hello, my name is Jorg. I'm founder and CEO of Bitwala. We are one of the first blockchain or crypto-first banks in the world. Since I'm in the blockchain space or Bitcoin space since the early 2011 to 2012, we always had the issue that blockchain or crypto is not really linked to the banking system. That you can see when you transfer money from your exchange or also transfer money to your exchange, it's always taking a long time and high fees, and yeah, it's just complicated. With Bitwala, it's the approach of really linking the fiat system or the banking infrastructure to the crypto world and make it smooth to swap between the different currencies and taking advantage of both worlds, basically.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vytautas Karalevicios. I am the CEO, co-founder of Spectrocoin and Bankera. Like me and my co-founders, we are in this market from 2011-2012, and for us, like the cryptocurrencies now, the main thing is about being able to pay online, because we mainly see the cryptocurrencies as the second stage of the internet payments. Before that, we had like e-gold and other payments which failed. Now it's a way of cryptocurrencies, and we still see that like the cryptocurrencies mainly mean to be paid, to be used for payments, and that's why we are mainly building our business around to helping people to pay online. And we believe that cryptocurrency is the best way to pay online. And another key about, like, before that, I was always saying that like the cryptocurrency and banking do not interlink to each other at the early stages, because for banking, the payments is just like the off-balance sheet activity. It's not a main activity about banking. And the cryptocurrency is actually not so good at the moment to be used for lending or borrowing, because it still depends on the client. But what I see now, actually, I see now what like to stepping in the payment side is a good way to actually become a bank in the long term, because you acquire the same client base, and in the long term is one of the, let's say, kind of a pathways to become a bank.
Hi, I'm Arnaud Salomon. I'm from Switzerland. My background is engineering from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, but my career was always in finance. As an FX trader. A few years ago, I started a company, a tech company, SMEx, that builds basically banking products for banks. And recently, like a year ago, we decided that one of these products, we should actually be running it. And this is our ambition today, and that's what we are going to, is to create a Swiss bank on blockchain. And what I'm talking here is not a crypto bank, it's a real proper Swiss bank on blockchain, where we will bring the entire balance sheet of the bank and tokenize it, asset and liability. And this thing has came out from the real vision that today banking has been the industry that has been the latest to be disrupted. And there is a real reason for that. I mean, if you look at it.
We'll go to that later, Arnaud. Let's go on with introductions. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Sonia. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fiat-based token. What we are doing is we are bringing fiat currencies to smart contract platforms, so public blockchains. Our solution is that if you have a fiat currency based on a public blockchain, it's fully KYC'd, and you can exchange it straight away into your bank account. We are also creating Quix application. It's going to be a mobile payment application, and you can exchange those fiat currencies based on a public blockchain into this Quix application, and you can spend it straight away in shops. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So let's go on with the first topic, because you know, you are somehow all disrupting the current industry by providing some services that don't look very different from the existing ones in the current industry. So payments are payments everywhere. So it's about getting the money or whatever it is from someone else, having a bank account. So it's kind of not very different from each of them, but there is a vast scope of services that today financial institutions are providing. So we go asset management, advisory services, brokerage. So which kind of service, and that's my first topic that I want to get your views, which services you think that are ideally disrupted by blockchain technology? Which are the banking services that today can be ideally disrupted by blockchain technology besides the payment that you all have already tackled? Who wants to answer first?
I mean, of course, obviously, we are Bitcoin maximalists, so we are always focused on transfers first. That was also the first use case of Bitcoin. It's like transfer money, value around the globe, the quickest possible way, and make it 100% secure and more reliable without a middleman. So what Bitwala is really focusing on is providing the gateway to this new world, to this new crypto world, that you can use it on a daily basis. Before, it was not really a payment method of the future when you have to first transfer money to an exchange, wait 2 days, then do the exchange, then transfer money out of your wallet from the exchange to your own wallet, and then you need another 2-3 hours to make your actual transfer international. So there's no big improvement in that. What we found really interesting is making the access as quickly as possible, so that you swap from euro to Bitcoin or to cryptocurrencies right away within a few seconds, and then you can do your international transfer or your POS payments and all of this stuff. So our main focus is still payments, but we are already on our roadmap having the next steps. For example, loans or credit or many things, asset management, where you invest in asset-backed tokens. This is all stuff that you can only do when you build your bank crypto first, basically.
Someone else?
For me, like as I mentioned before, I believe that like the blockchain and cryptocurrency is more about actually the payments, and it's going to be the payments area. Also, I'm doing my PhD in the focused on the blockchain technology, and one of the papers is actually I'm writing the paper about how blockchain technology could be applied for the financial markets outside of payments. And they actually identify kind of the key obstacle, because you cannot put everything on the blockchain, because the blockchain is mainly made for the digital assets. And I always like to illustrate the difference between the electronic assets, which we have now, like your account on the bank account is electronic money. Let's say all the shares you see on your brokerage account is actually just electronic representation versus the digital. And now the only clear example of digital assets we have is actually the cryptocurrencies as well as tokens. And if you look back to the dictionary, it's a clear definition what is electronic and digital. Electronics actually everything what is done by the help of electronics, and the digital is everything what can be expressed in the binary code. And the best example I use is I actually like to compare the electronic music and versus digital music. The electronic music is actually the Daft Punk, when you see the guys using a synthesizer to play the music, and then the digital music is actually the MP3 file which you can send to your friends. It's actually exactly the same case with finance. The electronic asset is actually the one which is actually stays somewhere in the vault, in the safe, and you can only see the electronic representation on your internet bank account, etc. While the digital asset is, let's say, a Bitcoin, which can actually be expressed in a binary code in ones and zeros, and it doesn't exist in the physical sense. And yes, you can do many things on the blockchain with the digital assets. Let's say now we have tokens and so on, which kind of represents the ownership of smart contracts, etc. And then we can build a new economy, but it's not the case about taking the things from the legacy systems and just putting in the blockchain. That's not going to work.
Okay. Please, Arnaud.
Just would like to add something here. On our side at Montpellier, what we do is not only focusing on crypto, but to look at blockchain as a core technology to build a bank on. And the idea here is really, as you said, to look at the token aspect. So really we look at tokenizing the entire bank and look at, of course, we look at Fiat and we want to put them on chain because, of course, it's a nice use case. There is some slight issues around compliance, and we need to of course, discuss it. But on the other side, we also want to bring the asset side of the balance sheet of the bank on chain. And this is amazing what you can do now with smart contracts and tokenizing those assets. Of course, we talk about loans, but there are so many banking assets. And if you think about it, 99% of banking assets today are contracts. So the idea of changing it and porting it into simple smart contracts and bringing it to the crowd opens a whole new set of possibilities to create a new type of bank. Simply because before, those assets used to be traded only by investment bankers, and you needed at least a capital of 1 million to buy this product, and this was the minimum ticker size whatsoever. But now with tokenizing, you can really bring this to the crowd, because of course it's fractionable, so everybody can own it.
Yeah, I think the topic is already pretty exhausted, and probably the only thing that is missing now is the topic that we discussed before with Enrique, is passporting customers. So instead of you going to every single bank and providing your details, you could have your own digital identity, and then you just go to the bank and you just present it, and the bank have access to it. So I think this is the last use case that haven't been exhausted here for the banks.
Okay. Yeah, Sonia, thank you. So, but then that brings a little bit to the next topic. So, then is this about really making new things that were not existing before, or is it more like playing together with the current banks the same game, but in a different or in a more efficient manner? How do you see your own projects or blockchain technology in general applied to banking services playing alongside the current banking services? Do you see this like compatible? Do you think that it will be disrupted once this appears? Do you think banks moving all of them to the same kind of technology? So I would like to get your views on that.
So for me, it's really a combination of both. So first of all, it makes the processes faster and quicker, as in form of payments or many other processes inside a bank. But I think also there are many new things that you can provide that weren't possible before.
For example?
I really, yeah. For example, loans, international loans would be a thing which wouldn't be possible before. The fintech market is exploring it more and more to get like small, medium-sized business loans from, let's say, Africa or the emerging markets, but this is a use case that was never there before.
Is this something that requires a bank? Because these fintech companies providing loan services, they are not asking for banking licenses normally. They just get like more like investment clubs. So where they are not just getting money from the people that go on the high street and then borrow it, lend it to someone who is borrowing it without the depositor knowing. So does a new company in the blockchain require to have a banking license and be named a bank to give loans, for example?
Sort of. For example, Bitbond is a really successful company in Berlin that is doing peer-to-peer loans only based on Bitcoin technology, and they're doing it worldwide. They actually needed a BaFin license, so the German financial authorities to approve this system before they could go live. So it's a mid thing. They don't really need a banking license to do it, but they definitely need some kind of regulation that there's not money laundering and any other things.
So which other services do you see like can play alongside banking? Maybe Sonia, may Arnaud get the microphone? Thank you.
I just would like to add something here because I think it's crucial to understand what a bank is, right? So if you look at the licensing aspect of banks, why is it so complex? Because banks take an enormous risk on their balance sheet, meaning on your deposit, right? So every time you deposit something at the bank, they use your money to make money. So either by loaning it out to someone else, or to buy products on the market, or they can even use it as a collateral to expand the size of the balance sheet of the bank. And this is where it's becoming super interesting because, and also dangerous. And at the same time, here, this is the real reason why banks exist. And in Europe, if you look at it, back in 2008, we talk a lot about PSD2, but back in 2008, they created PSD1. And that created exactly the use case you said, separating the credit institutions from the payment institutions. And that was a really huge move, because now fintechs could be providing financial services without having the burden of acquiring a banking license. Yeah? And that changed a lot. But still, in Europe, with PSD1, no financial institution could really provide loans on its own balance sheets. Yeah? It was the real thing for banks and only for banks. Now, of course, asking for a banking license opens you to a whole new set of possibilities. And this is where things are becoming interesting, but also where it's becoming dangerous. So that's why blockchain is also interesting, because you bring back transparency, you bring back trust, and you allow people to really verify that what you tell them is actually true.
Okay. Sonia.
Yeah, so in our case, banking license is not required, so we do payments only, actually, and issuance of electronic money. But we are not in terms of banking license, right? What blockchain gives you in terms of payments? It gives you better efficiency. So I see this improvement in the technology as the increase of efficiency of certain processes that bank currently has. So it's not like there are lots of startups now and lots of new companies that are emerging and provide just one service that the bank could provide, right? And so they don't require such a complex regulation. Many customers don't use all the services from banks as well. So then these customers can find just one service from the bank, but with better efficiency.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe Tata, sorry, didn't give you the mic.
Actually, I have like another view on the kind of the existence between the traditional banks and what we see the new neobanks, fintechs, as well as cryptocurrency exchanges. I see that like all these fintechs, they're actually still going, they saw the opportunity window to kind of establish a bank in the long term. And I think that like the blockchain-based businesses is only like one of the probably 3 main streams which are in the long term going to become a banks. Another ones are peer-to-peer loans and the money remittance or prepaid card companies. And I think in the next 10, 20 years, we will have like the banks who have like existed for 50 years, as well as the banks who now are just fintech startups. And in the 20 years, these the banks with 2 different stories will not be different, because what we see now, the existing banks, they are trying to change their legacy systems to use something more innovative. We usually call it blockchain, but it's more just like the up-to-date technology. And I think in the long term, they are going to merge, and the business models are going to be the same. Because still, it's not about how you do it, it's more about what you do it. And what you do it, you are providing the banking services, which are loans and deposits for their clients. In just it's a different way how you are going to build the scale. But still, the key thing is the client. It's not the technology, not the marketing. It's still about the existing client, and then every business is competing for the same client. And for his money.
Okay, okay. So then, if I understand well, this is about giving same services more efficiently. It might look like. So if we talk about transfers, which is mostly the transfers, or maybe safekeeping of your money. But what are the other services? So isn't it that now with blockchain technology, you should be able to create new products that didn't exist before, or that were not, or maybe they existed, but they were not affordable for the people like us. So is it that we will then be able to do new things that were not existing before, really new products?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that really comes to my mind is the biggest one for me. It's like the people are in charge of their money again, right? When you work with a bank and you have to trust them, you hand the money over and basically they have the money. But with us, with our bank, you actually are the owner of your money. You own your private keys, you have your money, and nobody is influencing the price. And so you can really bring your money in a safe haven, so to say, because I don't believe in gold so much anymore. before. So we need another digital gold, and these cryptocurrencies, they might be fluctuated or there might be a lot of fluctuation or volatility, but at least the market controls it, and there's not a central authority that controls it. So this is for me a big benefit that comes with tokens and crypto technology, that you're in charge of your money again.
Yeah. So maybe, thank you, Jorg. Maybe there is questions. If there is anybody who has questions, please just can raise your hands, and we have someone who will get you a microphone, so you can ask directly to the person that you want, or just make a general question for anybody to respond. Yes, please. Yeah, let me get you a microphone. Someone getting your microphone? Yeah, it is coming.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wakar Zaka. I'm a crypto influencer and a satellite TV host from Dubai. My target audience is subcontinent and Middle East. For us, I want to ask a question to Bitwala, that the credit card, the debit card kind of thing that you issued a few months back, that actually never worked out. The Wave Crescent company in Gibraltar, they just went off. Do you think this Visa and MasterCard kind of stuff can work? Because customers actually take the card, they start using it, and all of a sudden, Wave Crescent or such kind of incident happens.
No, I actually don't think it will work only with those partners. I mean, this is actually the reason why we pushed so hard to get our banking license with our partner, to really be independent from these monopolists or oligopolists. I think if you provide a banking structure like us and you have a full working bank account, then the Visa card is actually a bonus on top, or the MasterCard, however, which provider you want to. It's a service on top of your bank account. But basically, the holding and transfer and doing your day-to-day life on Bitcoin or blockchain, this is really the big plus. And this is why we chose to go for the full banking license in the long run with Bitwala, and not be dependent on payment providers like Wavecrest that are so fragile when it comes to these kind of issues.
So you all are coming out with your Visa card or MasterCard, which can actually connect Fiat to crypto? All of you?
Yeah, just us two. We provided that.
In my case, not yet. Fiat-based tokens case, not yet, because we're a startup and we don't have our product launched yet.
And what about you, sir?
I think there is one thing to understand here. So the Visa and MasterCard is just an organization, right? So they are not actually processing any transaction themselves. So it's just a brand, it's just a network that you're accessing. And then you have a whole set of players that are involved. Processes, it's just a messaging API thing. And then you have an acquiring bank, and then you have the deposit bank, etc., etc. Now, the problem that we saw with Wavecrest was really dedicated to Wavecrest as an issuing company. Yeah, they were issuing cards as a principal within the Visa and MasterCard network. Now, it doesn't mean that Visa and MasterCard are anti, they don't want Bitcoin whatsoever. It's just this company that did it in some way that somehow was not compliant with their requirements. Now, you don't need to be a bank to be a principal at Visa and MasterCard. You see many UK fintechs that are offering these services. They are not banks. They are IT providers, and they ask for an EMI license, an electronic money institution, and that's it. So it's not a requirement for that, at least in this payment system.
Thank you so much. Just last question. All your cards are only for European citizens. Will there ever be a solution for the huge market of Saudi Arab, Dubai, India, Pakistan?
That's a good question.
So we're constantly working on expansion, but first we go with the European market, and then step by step we evaluate which country makes sense for us.
Probably the right answer would be that there is no proper global bank, because if you want to operate in finance, you have to get like the license in every country you operate. The benefit on the European Union is like that you have a passporting, and you have like if you get a license in Germany, let's say, you can operate in all EU. While the issue with, let's say, the countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and so on, you have to get like a license in every country of these. And most of these countries, they don't have like such a huge client number. So for the businesses, it's like a very high cost for very low return. So that's why it's the key obstacle, why we're probably not going to be like one really true global business in the nearby term.
Okay. Any other question? If not, I go with the next one. Thank you. So So in fact, we are talking about payments with credit cards. So it doesn't look like very disruptive, frankly, in my opinion. It's just doing kind of the same, but maybe extending to, being able to top up your card with Bitcoin is already better than not being able to do it. So, but it doesn't really disrupt a lot in the current processes. So there is as well, and this is the technology stage. So the technology behind Bitcoin allows many things. So you briefly said, Arnaud talked how SMEx is using, or Mont Pelerin is using blockchain technology to change fundamentally how the operations in the bank are made. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. Maybe you as well, then following on that. So how do you think the blockchain technology can make a bank run differently? It is not more efficiently. It's just do it radically different, overcoming some of the problems that today the banking industry has. How is, for example, Mont Pelerin doing that?
So on our side, Mont Pelerin is a Swiss bank based on three pillars. And I guess those three pillars are the core foundation of what we do. So the first thing is we want to really shift the paradigm of banking. And we want to bring back transparency. And therefore, the first one is full reserve. We want to be a bank where your deposit will be safe. And the safest bank on the planet, simply because what we do is that we keep it in full reserve and we replace it at the central bank. Yeah? So we take no risk on balance sheets. So of course, as a bank, as a commercial bank, 90% of their revenue is driven from on-balance sheet credit. So how can we be profitable as a bank if we are just playing the custodian role and not basically using your money? And that's what we do here. We bring marketplaces for you so that you can consume product and services, banking product and services, in a marketplace way. And Mont Pelerin is just basically a facilitator for that. So they offer you the ecosystem, and then you, anyone, can bring products. We are, of course, acting as a market maker, and we never take risks. So we always hedge back to back with other institutions. And of course, this ecosystem allows each and every participant to be active or passive, and simply matching opposite needs always bring you the best deal you can find. And of course, to achieve that, what we do is that we tokenize the bank. Yeah, we'd say that each and every product needs to be a token so that people can own it, a piece of it entirely, or even you can even build new products, securitize products, and then you can have really new asset class flowing around that being super easily exchangeable. Let me give you an example, loan. Loan is a super great example. Just 1 second. The loan is today a contractual relationship you have with your bank. So the bank has an asset. Yeah? For them it's an asset because it yields. Now if the bank wants to sell this asset to another bank, it's complex because it's a contractual relationship with you and them. So now if you replace that with a smart contract, this contractual relationship is enforced by the smart contract. So the ownership can change. It can be UBS on day one, Credit Suisse on day two, etc. But it can also be owned collectively by the crowd. And this is where things are becoming way more friendly to everyone. Okay, that's a very good example of a new product in a way, because it has features that today don't exist in the current product that are allowed in banks. Exactly. Okay, that's interesting. So is any other example how the technology actually enables new products or new ways of not new ways of doing things, but new ways of banking? So complete different ways of banking, not about faster, not about reaching to wider population, new ways of banking.
I mean, we had it in the introductional talk here. They talked about the different ledgers and how banks are like transferring value between each other, and it's basically two different ledgers that are balanced out once a day. When we talk about our industry here, the interesting thing is you have 3 banks or future banks sitting here that all agree already on a common ledger. So when we do even interbanking transfers between each other, we can really work together and shape a new kind of.
Okay, that's a very good thing. So do you have already today working relationships between you, 4 of you? Like you are transferring money to each other, netting positions, or working together to finance, I don't know, your clients. It's already happening. You don't need to go through a central bank for that.
We two actually work together since 2012, 2013.
Oh, wow.
So like we definitely work on this, and we also will get closer and closer together when it comes to interbank and clearing.
Okay. So Montelega has relationships with other fintech or future banks to work together, maybe to build this maybe a bottom-up consortium that will become eventually bigger than any other bank in the world?
Yes. So, but the thing that you have also to look at is whatever you tokenize or whatever you do, you have to be the custodian as a bank, right? So Bitcoin is an asset by itself. It exists simply because it exists. But now if you look at euro, dollar, whatsoever, and you want to bring them on chain, someone has to be the custodian for these real assets. And this is where it creates the friction point when we want to do a deal and well, one of us has to be the custodian. So either he trusts me, either I trust him, or we find a way to actually settle the position on a daily basis. And that's actually the drawback that we in the system we currently live. And that's what Bitcoin is actually solving by having a currency that exists on its own without having to have a backup asset.
Yeah. So Sonia, you are in contact with other fintechs as well, trying to share expertise or maybe ways of doing things and even maybe risks?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we are discussing it, but I think that in order to change completely the way how you settle transactions, it really has to be some change in regulation in specific countries and the way the banks operate, so that it could also later on in the future help fintech companies, right? Personally, I'm from Poland, and some processes are very, very difficult to implement because of the regulation, right? So sometimes you have this, sometimes you're really limited because of government decisions.
Okay, maybe Max, can we get the microphone to this person there? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Sonia. Thank you. Let's get a question from the audience. So we are getting a bit to the end. So if you have your questions, please raise your hand now, because we'll have 2-3 minutes for the remaining time. Please.
Hi, my name is Yulia. I have a question about mass adoption. You talked about payment, and when you expect that every second family can use cryptocurrency for payments?
Who wants to take is clear the question? Yeah.
So it's always hard to say when, but I say as soon as it's usable on a day-to-day basis. So as soon as my mother could transfer money to China with using cryptocurrencies, then we're there. I mean, this is the end game, basically. This is the thing that we're all aiming for, to make it accessible, because at the moment it's just horrible. You sign up, you have wait for a verification 2 to 3 weeks. You need different platforms in different countries. You need a wallet. You need to store your private keys. This kind of stuff. As soon as this is solved, then I think we're way closer to mass adoption. But I can't say a year. No, way quicker. I think we're talking about 2-3 years. I've been in the Bitcoin space since so long, and I saw so tremendous changes from like being this awkward little thing to conferences like this in just 2-3 years, and we will see way quicker adoption.
What would be 5 years?
No, 10? I think 2 to 5 years.
2 to 5 years. Okay, that's good. Sorry. Can we get the microphone again for her? Anybody? Yeah, no, sorry. Please, let's then go on that one, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Angelos Kokidis. I'm a data scientist from Greece. And I have a question to all 4 of you. Your services, usually bank services, are restricted to the residents of a country. I'm not sure if that is a ECB regulation or is a regulation of each bank, but usually the customers are residents of that country. And are your customers required to be residents of your country or of European Union, or can they be international? And I'm also bringing up this question in regards to the crisis that happened in Greece and in Cyprus, and basically those people there, they couldn't get bank accounts.
It's very similar to the question that we had before. If we can quickly reply to that one and go to the next one. Who wants to? Just is the question for the 4 of you. So who raised the hand? The one that is giving the services beyond the scope of their own financial regulator. Okay, 1. Then 2, 3. Okay, so your aim is to bring to something that is more universal, is really not constrained to a country, right?
Okay, can I just add something?
Please.
The thing is that as a bank, let's say in our case for Switzerland, we don't care where the customer is. The only thing that we cannot do is to actively target customers that are not within our borders. But now if customers comes to us, there is no problem. So anyone in Dubai or in India or wherever actually can bank in Switzerland. The problem is that the bank in Switzerland cannot go to India and make an ad in the local newspaper because that would be like asking for a foreign public. But now the opposite is like you are on internet, you have heard about us and you sign up, it's all fine. Because you are actively going to us and we are not actively going to you. And that's actually the distinction. Yeah. And that's the main aspect here.
Cross-border marketing rules are very strict. Anybody wants to add something on this?
I mean, we have to be a little bit more careful in Germany. So we are targeting European citizens, so not people from all over the world. And UBS in Switzerland also learned the hard way how bad it is if you onboard people from everywhere. So we want to keep our butts safe in a way and say we go for the European market first, and then we go step by step the waterfall system to certain areas where we see a huge opportunity for us, and then we might get a license there or a payment process. There, but yeah, step by step.
But again, you don't need it, definitely. So it's not a requirement. So UBS, they learned it the hard way because they were actively looking
outside
for customers outside of the border.
Since we see all of them, all the Swiss banks were basically doing something that they shouldn't do. Please, let's go to that. That probably is going to be the last question. They will stay here, so anyway, all the panelists, so if you want to reach to them, but that's going to be the last question we can take because we are running short of time.
Okay, and the question is about Swiss bank. Are you planning that your clients will be more corporate or individuals?
So on our side, we have 2 sections. So one is the professional aspect, which is basically we will allow any SME to get financing, either by debt or by selling equity. So just like any normal crowdfunding thing, but in a centralized way. Of course, we are a bank, but the end goal is, of course, that we tokenize those SMEs. So we are a tokenized bank. So we start with us, but we also offer that to any SME to come on our platform and to issue shares in the same way as most companies do ICO. They could do it the same way with us. So we entrust the SME share within the bank, and we issue tokens on the primary market, and then there is a secondary market where people can trade it. Same for debt, and same for pretty much any type of instrument that SMEs could use. Now, on our side, therefore, we are broadly open to individuals, of course, for the payments aspect, because we truly believe that a bank should start with the payment system. We should start with simplifying everyday people's life, but at the same time, by bringing this population on the bank, it creates a base for new opportunities and therefore for SMEs to propose to this crowd investment opportunities, and even your local pizzeria or your local whatever shop could also offer you an investment opportunity simply because you shop there, so you believe in it. You're happy to finance them partly with 100 Swiss franc, 1,000 Swiss franc, whatever.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Really, it was very nice to hear and know that we will have a new bank probably very soon, a new way of doing of banking in the future. Thanks to you guys, and thank you for your insights today during the panel.